If I want to get in the best shape possible, there are really only 5 things I would focus on. Number 1, track everything I ate. I'd be logging everything I ate. There is no getting around it. Nutrition is the most important thing when it comes down to body transformation, and I'm not going to leave my results up to chance. I'm going to download a food tracking app, and I'm going to keep a food diary there. And I'm not just going to track what I'm eating. I'm going to track my nutrition towards a specific calorie target, which is going to control if I lose weight or not, but also where those calories will come from. The macronutrients, the large components of our food, protein, carbs, and fat, that's going to control what type of weight I will lose, which is what I'm sure you want too. If I'm going to lose weight, I want it to come from my fat stores. And while eating more protein, while making sure my calories are balanced and I'm training hard, is going to make sure that happens. I'm not going to go on the carnivore diet because it's not necessary for this, and vegetables are good for me, or do any sort of extended fasting because I want to be able to work out and work out hard, which I'm going to detail in a second. This may surprise you because I know it did for me before I started training for any type of physique competitions, but you don't need to cut out any specific type of food to get leaner and more toned or perform well. I know your local bodybuilding pro doesn't eat carbs and Tom Brady didn't eat tomatoes, but there are no bonus points for being extra restrictive when it comes to building an impressive physique, especially when you're controlling for the things that matter the most, and tracking your nutrition is going to do that. And honestly, believe me, I've been there. I've gotten a 6-pack doing nothing else other than eating chicken and vegetables and cutting out everything that I didn't think was healthy, only to fall face first into a pizza and eat it entirely and go into a pizza coma and hate myself. You don't need to do this. Track what you eat and be smart. Getting into crazy shape is all about strategic balance. So you can do the things that matter the most long enough for it to pay off. This game is all about moderation. You can have everything you want, you just can't have it all at once. If I had 90 days to get in the best shape of my life, I'm definitely tracking what I eat, and I'm also eating more of this. Number 2, more protein. If you want to get leaner and put on more muscle, you need to be eating more protein. Now, a few really important things to know about protein. First off, your daily total amount of protein, the amount of protein you eat throughout the entire day, matters more than anything else. There's quite a bit of overlap between the digestion, absorption, and utilization of the protein you're consuming for things like muscle protein synthesis and building new muscle and new hormones. So you don't need to be eating protein every 2 to 3 hours. But eating enough over the course of the day will make sure that you're building new muscle and keep the muscle that you already do have as you get leaner, especially if you're in a calorie deficit. Now, how much is enough over the course of the day? Generally between 1.5 to 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or 0.7 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight is sufficient protein. So for a 90 kilo or around 200 pound male, this would be anywhere between 135 grams upwards of 225 grams. If you don't eat enough protein to begin with, then stay on the lower end of this range and work towards the middle. Eating a bit more consistently is going to be way better than pushing way too hard at the beginning and not being able to sustain that. Now, not all protein sources are created equal, especially if you're choosing higher fat sources like peanut butter, which is actually a fat source, not a protein source. Eating too much of this can unintentionally spike your calorie intake. When possible, try to prioritize leaner sources like chicken breast, pork loin, or egg whites. If I was in your spot, I would try to plan and prepare all my protein sources at the beginning of the week and then start to build my meals around. Spend some time at the beginning of the week grilling up a bunch of meat, maybe making some egg cups for breakfast or overnight oats with protein powder. Protein can be an overlooked macronutrient because it's not as convenient, it's tougher to prepare, so you've got to plan ahead. And then build your meals and nutrition around it as you track that and everything else. Now, the next thing you're going to need to do is number 3, strength train at least 4 times per week. If you want to look and feel your best, it can't all be about weight loss. Especially if you want that toned and athletic and jacked look. You know what I'm talking about. You have visible muscle and definition, but it isn't all about looks. You can still go play a soccer game if you wanted, or pull a heavy deadlift, or even run home from the bar. Whatever you want to do. If you want to be muscular, strong, athletic, you're going to need to spend the majority of your time exercising in the weight room. You got to spend that time lifting weights. First off, I would be training 4 times per week, doing full body workouts. There's no need for splits. You could probably get away with only lifting 3 days per week. You probably don't need to be doing it 5 times per week. 4 times per week is probably the sweet spot. Any more than that, and you'd probably be better off spending more time doing the thing that we're going to talk about doing next. So for now, focus on lifting weights 4 times a week to maximize muscle growth, and focus on effective exercises and total volume and intensity. You're gonna wanna choose 2 to 4 exercises per muscle group weekly without changing the exercises up too frequently. You want some repetition. You wanna get good at them and practice them and get stronger in those lifts. I'd be doing compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, presses, supplemented with specific isolation exercises to bring up lagging body parts like curls for your biceps or side lateral raises for your delts. And volume should range between 10 to 20 total sets per muscle group weekly, depending on where you're weak and where you need specific attention. If I'm brand new to lifting, I'm gonna make sure that I'm learning proper technique and working through the exercises first before I add in more weight. Using moderate rep ranges between 5 to 15 reps per set, and really focusing on working up the reps first before I add in more weights. On most of your sets, leave around 2 to 3 reps in the tank. You don't need to push all the way until failure, but you can go there on your last set, especially on exercises that aren't dangerous. You don't need to be doing that on squats or presses, but you could push some of the isolation exercises a little bit harder. Now, I have an example training program that includes all this stuff. You don't have to create the program on your own if you want to follow something. You can go to the first link in the description below to download that. Lastly, as good as all this science-based training stuff is, it doesn't really matter unless you do it. So find someone with similar training goals as you and ask them to train with you. Having a training partner could be the difference maker. Okay, what do you want to focus on next? So next up, I am walking at least 12,000 steps per day. When possible, I'm gonna get outside for at least a 30-minute walk per day and walk for around at least 10 minutes after each meal. So in the past, I definitely believe that cardio and movement was something that I just didn't need to be doing in order to get jacked. In reality though, I think it was that mentality that was holding me back. And research has shown this as well. If you take over 8,000 steps per day, 8,600 plus to be exact, it actually prevents you from gaining weight. So if you want to get jacked, it's actually in your best interest to move more. Not only is it good for your heart health, but it also improves your digestion. It gets you moving outside more. And there's also the mental clarity as well, among a bunch of other health benefits. And there's also the psychological component as well, which is the person that moves more, the person that's more active, the person that parks their car far away and walks into the grocery store, takes more steps, they take the stairs. That's the type of person that identifies as a fit person. That's the type of person that takes care of themselves and is more likely to do a bunch of other behaviors that are healthy, fit, and jacked as well. Now, this all adds up. Does it need to be 12,000 steps? Can it be 10,000, 8,000, 6,000? It probably needs to be more than you're currently doing right now, but everyone's gonna be on an individual level and should probably work up their steps to a level that's a bit more than they're doing right now, but at a level that they can handle as well. So take more steps. But next up, what do we got? And I'm also gonna lastly create a timeline for results. No one else is gonna tell you this, but dieting for a physique show is actually easy. And that's because when you set a deadline and you have to be half naked in front of a bunch of strangers and even put on a smile, you're probably gonna look your best. You know what the hard part is? It's what happens after, because you don't have that big event staring you in the face. So it makes everything that you're doing harder to stick to. And I'm not saying everyone needs to turn into a physique athlete to get into the best shape, but there is a lesson here that's worth learning. And the lesson here is setting up a deadline for yourself. Sign up for an event and train for it for 3 months. Schedule a photo shoot in 8 weeks and get ready for it. hire a coach for a couple of months and work really hard. Everything is easier to do and stick to when you have a timeline. That's why people stay stuck and never grow and evolve, when they're constantly wondering if they're going to do the thing instead of just taking action. So what I would do is this: if I wanted to get in insane shape over the next year, I'd set a big scary goal, and then I would do something so that I was invested in it. I'd sign up for an event. I would hire someone to help me get there. And then I would tell some people that I trust, that care about me, and that want me to succeed, that I'm doing it. Then I would create a deadline for when I need that result by, which would make it more likely that I would do the things that I needed to get there. With that being said, I still coach training and nutrition clients. So if you want some advice and a plan and to work with me as a coach, we definitely could do that. This makes for great YouTube content for the coaches that follow me as well. So here's what you should do. If you want to work with me, the second link in the description below has an application form. Fill it out, tell me where you're coming from. And that's it, folks. That's how to get in great shape over the next year. That's exactly what I would do. And hey, if you liked this video and maybe you're considering doing something new, this past fall, I trained for a triathlon after doing strength sports for over 20 years. I documented my training and my nutrition and everything that went down on the day of the event. You're gonna hear all about that in the video right here. So check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video.